Don't ever talk about the weather. Wear a long coat made of chickadee feather. Well, I smoke.
So the other day I talked a little bit about how my day looks, what I do for a living, but I didn't go into much detail, and I thought that I was going to take today's vlog and talk a little bit about how I do what I do and how I got involved with it. So this is going to be an episode on what it's like being a social media manager. Now, what I really wanted to talk about here was a little bit about what it takes. What do you do? How do you become a social media manager? And what are some of the important things of being a social media manager? The first and most important thing by far is you have to at least try and find a company that produces something or works with something that you're really passionate about. You're gonna work on Facebook and you're gonna work on Twitter and all of these places, and you're gonna be moderating and you're gonna be engaging, you're gonna be talking with people. You have to care about that conversation. I wouldn't be able to do my job if I didn't have some tools at my disposal, something that could help me moderate comments and private messages and all that kind of stuff, and something that can help me schedule content, something that I can use to quickly see what's coming up. One tool I've been a fanatic fan of for years now is a tool called Sprout Social. What Sprout Social does is it allows you to connect Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and probably something else. And it does many things. One of the things it does really well, and the main reason I'm using it, is the moderation. It allows you to take comments and all these different interactions from different Facebook accounts, for example, and put them into one stream, basically one email inbox. That allows me to go through every single comment and every single private message and every single tweet or whatever it is, and read them all and take action on them all. Let's take Facebook as an example. Some comments will just be somebody talking about a product and tagging a friend, and they're talking about it and they're all excited and no, that's all good. I need to read that. I need to make sure that they're not using some terrible language, they're not linking to something they're not supposed to link to. I also need to read it in order to see if it's something that we can engage with, if it's something that we as a company, as a brand, if we can reach out to these people, whether it be helping them out, even if they didn't ask a question. A lot of this is really about humanizing a brand. It's about making people believe and realize that this company they're talking to is not just a company, it's people, it's you and me. That's one of the most important things about social media, making people see that you are people. The company is made up of people, they're made up of individuals. Now quickly back to Sprout Social. Sprout Social does a lot more than just moderation. You can also schedule posts through it. You have a whole reporting feature. You have feeds. You can set up like a Twitter feed based on a keyword and a location, and you can try and monitor your brand. This might not be necessary in the beginning. If you work with, say, one Facebook page, it might not be necessary. But once you start working with multiple Facebook pages or Twitter accounts or anything else, or you start working with a big Facebook page, like thousands and thousands of followers, that's when these kind of tools really come in handy. I can definitely recommend Sprout Social. Not only it is an amazing tool, it is cheap. It doesn't cost a lot. A lot of these tools are super expensive. Sprout is relatively inexpensive. I'll of course leave a link to Sprout Social down in the description box. Something you'll have to get familiar with when working with social media is image and video editing. Some of you might know the reason why I'm doing this vlog is because I want to get better at video editing. And the only way I know I can get really good at this is just doing it a lot. You don't necessarily have to be a Photoshop ninja or a Final Cut expert. There are tons of tools out there that'll help you. One great tool, if you're not super good at stuff like Adobe Photoshop, there's a fantastic tool called Canva, canva.com. I'll link that down in the description, of course. Again, with video editing, it's a little bit more difficult. You don't have to use stuff like Adobe Premiere or Apple's Final Cut Pro. There are free alternatives that are a lot more simple to work with and will do the job just fine. You can use stuff like Windows Movie Maker on PCs. You can use iMovie on Macs. Emails is an important part of I think most companies. You're gonna be writing a lot of emails, you're gonna be reading a lot of emails. One thing many people sort of overlook is the email client. You spend so many hours writing and reading emails. The environment that you're doing it in, it should be the best it can be. And an even more overlooked part, I think, is the aesthetic, the looks of this email client. You can be spending so many hours in it that just having a client, having an environment that looks great will help boost productivity. If you're working on a Mac, I will definitely recommend that you check out the email client called Airmail. I'll link that down in the description. If you want to work with social media, where to start? Okay, so first things first, I basically did volunteer work. I started building gaming communities, and that eventually turned into an internship where I managed social media accounts for a company, and I did it for free. I did that for about half a year or so. So basically it was from community work, which was volunteer, I didn't make any money on it, and then on to actually managing social media accounts directly for a company, but again, I didn't get paid for it. That volunteer work eventually, slowly over time, turned into paid work. Now, the way I think is probably the best way to get in right now is being hired by one of very, very large social media moderation organizations. I work for a company called eModeration. This is a UK-based company. It allows you to get a job working with social media, either part-time or full-time, without much experience, because this company is going to teach you, this company is going to train you. Normally when you start up, you're actually going to have days of training, which, by the way, you're going to be paid for. I think this is a great way to start because you get right into it, you get to work with big companies right off the bat, and you get to do it in a big company with a lot of coworkers, a lot of people you can learn from. You're gonna have good training, you're gonna learn a lot about social media, a lot of the basics, and you're gonna get something good to put on your resume straight away. I think if you start with a company like eModeration, you're quickly gonna be confident enough and have enough experience to start taking on clients on your own. I still to this day work for eModeration. I think it's a great company. They have some amazing clients and I have some fantastic coworkers there. So I hope you learned something from this. And if you're interested in getting into this line of work, I hope you learned a little bit about what it entails, what the work sort of looks like, and how you get started.